Hello, folks. The topic of the rapture occurring this month remains probably the hot topic on YouTube. At least my feed, I can see nothing but rapture. And there's argument back and forth. There are people that still stand by I guess the date that has been set, September 23rd or 24th, and they're basing a lot of that on Joshua Malakala from South Africa, and he claims to have seen Christ. Christ appeared to him and told him that's the date of the rapture, and gave him a lot of other things. And of course I cannot say one way or the other. I wasn't there. It wasn't me. I don't see anything in the Bible to say that's impossible. And I don't see anything in the Bible to say that it is possible. So I can only sit back and say, wow. At any rate, I do want to clear up something that has so often been misspoken, and a lot of people are using it to back up the idea of a rapture in September 23 or 24, and they're saying that because Jesus said to the disciples, if you remember in Matthew chapter 24, that of that day and hour knoweth no man, not even the angels in heaven, my Father only. Okay. And they're saying, well, that is a call to two things. That's a call to the Feast of Trumpets Day, which, is probably correct. The Jews do refer it as the feast that no man knows the day or the hour. And other people equate it to a Jewish wedding of the day when the espoused husband-to-be would go away and prepare a place for his bride, and once it was prepared and the father would give him the okay, he would go back and retrieve his bride and bring her back, and they would then be married and be together forever. And that's a wonderful picture of the rapture. However, I must say this, and I'm not trying to be mean or rude about it, but and my pastor said the same thing to me when I was asking him. I said, it looks like the rapture is soon. He said, but Jesus said no man knows the day or the hour. And of course my response to that was, what about the week or the month or the year? And he rolled his eyes. I thought, well, that must be what Jesus said, that no man knows the day or the hour of the rapture. But that in Matthew chapter 24, when he said it, there was absolutely no reference to or mention of the rapture. As a matter of fact, the concept of the rapture was not introduced. The mystery of the rapture was not introduced to the world until Paul wrote about it in Thessalonians. Quite some time later, after the resurrection of Jesus and the ascension. So the disciples didn't know about the rapture. And they weren't asking about it. They were asking about the destruction of the temple and of the end of the world, or the end of the age. And Jesus was answering, of course, the temple would be destroyed 70 years later, but the end of the world still has not come. So they're really two separate things, but the disciples didn't know. They thought, well, if the temple is destroyed, then the world will end. Perhaps they thought that. So when you try to equate the rapture with the Feast of Trumpets and use that verse, it's it's a sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal. It doesn't carry any actual substance. So I would caution you not to go down that path, because it's not the same thing. It's not the Feast of Trumpets. Now, will Jesus rapture his bride on Feast of Trumpets? Perhaps. It would be awesome. Will he not? Perhaps. I don't know. Now, some people, and I'll throw this out there, some people have speculated that the rapture will take place 7 days before the tribulation period kicks off, because they equate the rapture with Noah and his family being taken into the ark and being carried above the torrent. Also, an awesome picture. So that would back it up by Joshua's date to the week prior. Some people have added in the 22nd of September because the math doesn't add up, taking us from the Feast of Trumpets on the 23rd or 24th, whenever the new moon is sighted, the witnesses declare it, and the trumpet is blown, the last trump. And then 1,550 days later is supposed to add up to the next feast day, which is Yom Kippur and the Day of Atonement. But that doesn't add up, so they have to put the 22nd in there in order to make it add up to the 15th of September 2032. So, all these dates are being thrown around. And of course, some people are coming in and saying, one similar to Joshua came in and said, no, God told me that Joshua is a false prophet. Don't listen to him. That's not the day of the rapture. So, now you've got two guys who claim to have been spoken to by God or Jesus, who is God, and they have a conflicting message. One of them is an absolute liar, in my opinion, and it's my opinion. Both of them are liars. Will Jesus, did he ever promise he would come and tell some dude in some country the date of his return for his bride? I don't see it. I'm sorry. Now, having said all of that, I do want to put this out there, and I'll just tell you like it is. I want to know the truth. I want to know the fact about the rapture and about this whole thing with Joshua and whether Jesus is coming back on the 23rd or 24th of September this year. So I put a fleece out, and I said, Lord, if you'll tell me, if you're willing to tell me that you are coming back on one of those dates in that range, I would like to see 2 police cars pulled on the side of the road with lights on, each to a separate car. However, if you're not coming on one of those 2 dates, then I would like to see an ambulance go by with the lights on. That simple. And you can see I live in the country, and that whole day I saw nothing of the sort. Now, the following day, I saw an accident with 2 police cars and an ambulance, both. So, totally inconclusive. So, I thought I'm going to give it one more shot, and I had a long trip all the way across the state yesterday. I had to drive from Daytona Beach to Tampa and back. And I prayed, I said, Lord, if you're coming in the month of September, regardless of the date, I please show me a bear. A bear. Now, I've seen 3 bears since I've been in the state of Florida, and I know a lot of people who've lived here their whole life, and they've never seen one. I've seen 3, haven't seen one this year. So I thought, there's a chance, God can do it. He's almighty. So I drove all the way to Tampa, kept an eye out for a bear, and as I'm driving, I'm thinking, what if I see a picture of a bear? Does that count? What if I see, a campground that has a bear as their mascot or something? Is that supposed to count? I just wasn't sure. So, I'm beginning to wonder. So I get all the way home, do all the things that I have to do, and I sit down. My wife comes in, and I'm getting ready to tell her about that whole bear thing. She clicks the TV on, and what's on the TV? The news with a bear that was in somebody's yard. And I sat there with my mouth open for a long time until she said, what's wrong? And I told her the story about the bear, and I had chill bumps. Now, was that some sort of a confirmation from God? I don't want to test God's patience, but I was forced to put another fleece out. And, the first one, the ground was wet with dew, the fleece was dry. This one, I wanted the ground to be dry and the fleece wet. And I know it's testing God, but, we can't go on the possibility of some sort of a coincidence and then draw conclusions from it. Now, my promise to God was that I'd make a video one way or the other about it. And, of course, that's what I've done. But the subject of this video is the misunderstanding of the day and hour that no man knows of, being the Feast of Trumpets, but not being the rapture. It's very important that we don't get drawn down that path. And the reason I say it, so, let me stop. If you ask me, do you think the rapture is taking place this September? I've been born again since February of 1978, and I knew all about it long before that, the rapture. And I've seen those speculative dates come and go, and, so far, 100% miss rate, 100%. So a lifetime of 100 strikes with no hits, it makes me assume that this is going to be another strike. And I have to look at what's going to happen to people's faith come September 25th. Are they going to, a lot of people, not a lot, I've seen two different people in the comments saying, I was born again because of this. And that's usually in response to somebody saying, what I'm saying, which is it's going to damage faith worldwide. Hands down, no doubt. It's going to damage reputation of anyone who said it. And I put out this challenge on my last video. If you're saying that it's going to happen and that God gave you a confirmation, that's the important thing, that God was involved in this. Joshua Malakala especially, because he said that Jesus came and appeared to him in the flesh and told him, and he heard it with his ears, in addition to other times that he appeared to him in dreams and visions. And if it doesn't happen, Joshua needs, if he cares at all about God, he needs to go on and admit that he was hearing from someone, he saw something other than Jesus, and hearing from something other than God. So he needs to do that in order to save reputation. But in my opinion, he's looking for his 15 minutes of fame. He's gone viral. He's all the sensation among Pentecostals, among charismatics, among the tongue speakers, and the like. Now, more sensible people, and I'm sorry if that's one of you, more sensible people that believe the Bible, but don't, I guess we'd call ourselves cessationalists. We believe that when that which is perfect has come, which of course is the Bible, that's the only thing perfect we have on the earth at this point, then that which is done in part, which it had spoke of prophecies and speaking in tongues, that which is done in part shall be done away. In other words, we believe the Bible, when it said that it meant prophesying, because we have all the prophecy we need in the Bible, speaking in tongues, because we have the Bible in language, any language. If you don't speak English or you speak some obscure language, you can still get it translated to your language in a moment, in an instant. For that matter, it's already printed in most every language. Then that which is done in part will be done away. It's no longer needed. We don't need tongues. We don't need prophesying. We don't need any of that stuff. As a matter of fact, if it hadn't been done away, then why aren't the prophets healing people, going to hospitals and sending everybody out the front door healed? That would make people believe, would it not? But we must believe on faith. We cannot believe on sight. That's why it's been done away. We had to have it before the Bible came. We had to have it before it was complete and people could read it for themselves and see what it said. We had to have tongues. We had to have, and when I say tongues, they were speaking in languages that people understood, but it wasn't their native language, if you understand. So I had to make this video. I promised God I would if he showed me a bear. He showed me a bear. I'm still not sure what it means. Could the Lord come this month and take his bride? Oh, I hope so. You have no idea how much I hope so. I won't go into it. Thank you for watching. I'm not asking you to like it. I'm not asking you to share it unless you can share it with somebody who believes that nonsense about the rapture being tied together with the Feast of Trumpets because of what Jesus said about the end of the world. Two different things, totally. Share it with them, but I'm not trying to build up a subscriber base, and I'm certainly not trying to make revenue off of this. If you watch somebody that's giving gospel and a commercial pops on there, my recommendation, don't subscribe to them, don't like their video, don't watch any more, because they're in it for filthy lucre. Thanks for watching.